Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. Today, we're going to be doing something interesting for YuGiOh Logic, a card that has seen in a lot of debate. Soul Charge, normal spell card out of Dragons of the Legends. Its effect reads, target any number of monsters in your graveyard. Special summon them, and if you do, lose 1,000 life points for each monster special summoned by this effect. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. You can only activate one Soul Charge per turn. Now, when you look at Soul Charge, there's a couple of cards that come to mind that are already banned on the Forbidden list. One being Dimension Fusion, the other being Return from a Different Dimension. You can't really compare these two cards because there's a couple of things that separate them. Well, one, Return from a Different Dimension and Dimension Fusion special summon from the Remove from Play zone. Just a little harder to put cards there, whereas every monster does go to the graveyard. That's a plus for Soul Charge. Now here comes the big two minuses. Two, you can activate as many Dimension Fusions and you can activate as many Return from the Different Dimensions as you want per turn. You can also conduct your battle phase during that time period. So you can kind of compare the two, but you really can at the same time. Soul Charge has a lot of pros and cons that a player should really consider before putting this card into the deck. A couple of pros, well, one of the pros would be a lot of people tend to run Upstart Goblin, and the theory behind Upstart Goblin is that it makes your deck smaller. Instead of running a 40 card deck, you're running a 37 card deck. There'll be some people that run a 43 card deck with 3 Upstart Goblins, but that's beside the point. The point is they're giving you additional life points to activate Soul Charge. So if they activated 3 Upstart Goblins that turn, well, hey, you just got 3 free monsters at the cost of skipping your battle phase. That's pretty dope. Those monsters can be applied to summoning a lot of monsters on the board, or going to a whole bunch of other wacky combos, or just simply gaining you more advantage than your opponent over time. Soul Charge doesn't have the monsters go to the graveyard or be removed from play like Return from a Different Dimension, but hey, monsters just special summoning, I mean, you kind of paid for them. So another great thing about Soul Charge is that it promotes those tier 2 decks. Now, when I say it promotes tier 2 decks, you can see a lot of decks that are not really that great on their own. That Soul Charge really gives them a boost. For example, plants, not Sylvans, plants. Jeff Jones made a very interesting deck called Soulfire. You guys just Google Soulfire Jeff Jones, and it basically revolves around summoning Shooting Quasar Dragon with the 2-card combo of Soul Charge and a Lone Fire Blossom. Now, only thing you need is a Lone Fire. You go Lone Fire, then you Soul Charge, and then you summon Quasar, and you win. That's how good Soul Charge has made the plant deck. There are other decks where it really doesn't promote tier 1 decks. For example, Soul Charge and Heretics. While it does seem really nice, it's not really necessary since the deck can go off on itself, since the deck can already function without Soul Charge. But players still try to find a way to fit Soul Charge in it, which is not extremely bad. It's just you have to see the ramifications behind using Soul Charge. Now, the huge life points cost could cost you the game completely. Whereas if you're playing Lavels and you're sending all these cards to the graveyard, well, hey, Soul Charge is a replacement for Kindling. So they decided to pay 5,000, 4,000 life points to summon a Quasar. Well, guess what? Now you're half of your life points and you're in the red zone. Had they get past this Quasar, you're probably going to lose the game. There's a couple of other examples where their opponent would just Soul Charge for 1,000 or 2,000 life points. And just because they Soul Charge for 1,000 or 2,000 life points, Gaga Cowboy became very viable to just win the game. Another thing is that when a card comes out and it makes Just Desserts and Ceasefire viable, there's a problem. Soul Charge is an amazing card on its own, or, well, not on its own. Soul Charge is an amazing card. But when you're making Burn become a lot more viable because you're putting your life points in the danger zone, then yeah, you really have to think about the ramifications by this card. Now, Soul Charge can win you a game. Whereas if you summon multiple monsters on the field and you're Exceed summoning and you're Synchro summoning into more monsters on the field, it can create a state where your opponent just can't get over. For example, if they go Mecha Phantom Beast, Draco Sack, Stardust Dragon, and who knows, Void Ogre Dragon all in one turn, and you're just looking at it like, well, I lose because now I can't activate my Soul Charge or do anything in response. That is the type of combos that Soul Charge could create with the right type of graveyard management and the right type of cost. Now, another great thing about Soul Charge is that the life point cost is at resolution. So I can think of a lot of great things that happen with Diamond Dude, but we're going to get on that later. So maybe Diamond Dude Turbo 2.0. But if your opponent wants to solemn Soul Charge, which they're almost forced to have to sometimes, when depending on what cards you're getting from the graveyard, you do not pay the life point cost. You pay the life points cost for the monster special summon. I think that was really smart by Konami for two reasons. They tried to push this card and make it really broken to sell the set, and two, man, solemning Soul Charge doesn't seem too great. You really want them to summon, and then you want to stop whatever they bring out. But that's beside the point. What else do I have on my list? Soul Charge is not a great early game card. Now, I'm saying this because let's say you're playing a deck that does not have a lot of ways to put cards into your graveyard. Granted, we now have Curry Bandit and Mathematician, so those cards are probably seen in almost every deck that runs Soul Charge that are tier 2 and lower. But let's go to the tier 1 decks. YuGiOh. YuGiOh can put monsters into the graveyard. But is that their prime concern? No. Their prime concern is OTKing you and setting up really, really fast. They do that through YuGiOh Armor, YuGiOh Accelerator, and like I said, while they can put the cards in the graveyard, they're probably already winning beforehand. Activating Soul Charge makes them skip their battle phase, which essentially gives you another turn to win. Now, if you're using Soul Charge for some burn or some really crazy combo, you probably lost anyways. But Soul Charge basically forfeits you the win for that game, or for that turn, unless you're summoning some monsters that your opponent just can't completely get over. So you have your good and your bad for Soul Charge. Another thing, Soul Charge can be dead if you don't have a lot of life points. So like I said, I have mixed reviews about this card. It is an amazing card with the right setup, and it is the most horrible card almost any other given time. If you do not have the right setup, it's horrible. I do believe that it should be played in certain decks, like I said, Jeff Jones Soul Charge, or Soulfire deck, amazing. Plants put cards to the graveyard quick. And I think there's just some horrible ideas that are floating around there. Like, let's play Soul Charge and my Ice Barriers because they make them tier 1. Sorry, not going to happen. Doesn't put the deck up, or doesn't boost the deck that far. All in all, Soul Charge is a very decent card that puts tier 2 decks up, or gives them a little boot to make them a little further. For the tier 1 decks, they typically don't need it, but some of them play it anyways. Thank you guys for watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. Please like, comment, subscribe. I want to know your opinion on Soul Charge. But most of all, enjoy.